Bleeding is the #1 injury in trauma, be it at home, at workplaces, road traffic accidents, and so on. Hi, I am TechMat Grandpa, and this is the first part of stopping bleeding in this first aid series. Before we continue any further, I would like to caution all viewers that there will be pictures and videos used throughout this series that may be disturbing to some, and it contains some graphical images. We find it necessary, as the first time you are called upon to help someone should not be the first time that you see a wound that is disturbing. Direct pressure and use of pressure bandage is still the cornerstone in stopping bleeding. But it may not stop all types of bleeding, as there are areas where you will not be able to effectively apply direct pressure and pressure bandage and providing enough pressure to stop the bleeding, especially arterial bleeding or bleeding from a ruptured arteries. These are some images where bleeding will stop with direct pressure followed by pressure bandage or pressure dressings. These bleedings normally will be from the veins or from the capillaries. Let me now show you on how to apply direct pressure and what you can use as a bandage to apply as a pressure dressing to stop some of these bleedings. There are many items that are available in the market and that you can use to help you to stop bleeding. A lot of time, the kind of bandages that you will use will really depends on the kind of bleeding. But like I mentioned earlier, the most basic and the cornerstone of stopping bleeding is always direct pressure and pressure bandage or pressure dressing. So right now, right in front of me here, I have some various tools that you will be able to use. You have emergency bandage here from North American Rescue. You also have a compression bandage or trauma field dressing. Comes in, some of these bandages comes in various sizes. As you can see, these are the larger ones, especially for abdominal wounds or for larger wounds. You have the standard size, which is a smaller version of the bandage. We will discuss and we will open up some of these bandages in the future series that we're going to demonstrate to you on how to use them to stop some of this massive bleeding. They also have, example, this is the quick clot combat gauze. This is used for wound packing. It contains a bandage that contains some chemicals or some products on the bandage that will assist in blood clotting, and you can find that this is very effective in stopping bleeding. But the most basic you can use will be some of these bandages, like this clip bandage. Comes in different sizes, like you can see here. Alright, so we will demonstrate to you now on the most basic, and that is using the clip bandage on how to stop. Okay, let me use now my ugly leg to demonstrate to you on how to apply a pressure bandage or pressure dressing using the simplest form of bandage, and that is using a clip bandage. So when you see any blood stain on any clothing, it is important for you to really try to expose as much of the area where the bleeding is. So assuming that I have a cut here and it is oozing blood, okay, I see that the blood is dark red in color, so that tells me that the blood is venous bleeding, and it should help with direct pressure and pressure bandage. So direct pressure means quickly apply pressure with your bare hands or with your glove hands onto where the bleeding is. Okay, this would effectively slows down the bleeding or even stop the bleeding temporarily while the pressure is being applied. Best if you can have a piece of gauze to replace it and provide an additional or continuous direct pressure, and obtain your bandage or the bandaging material that you want. So what I have here is a clip bandage that I will use as a pressure bandage. So what would you do will be, it is always a good idea to have the barrel Okay, and that is the roll part of the bandage facing up, you can see. Okay, this will give you a better control over the bandage while you're winding through. The good thing about having a clip bandage is that clip bandage is elastic, so you can conform to the body, and at the same time, really you can pull the bandage to add additional pressure or to add to provide effective pressure onto the wound itself. So you will just wrap around. This is called a barrel dressing. Okay, cover the pad as much as possible to cover the wound. You should try to provide about 2 centimeters or 1 centimeters of edge beyond where the cut is. Okay, so you just continue, and each pull that you do, you try to pull slightly or pull snugly. Okay. Now, if you see while you're winding through, and you see that the bleeding still continue, right? So if you want, but you have not finished bandaging. So if you want to stop the bleeding much more effectively, what you can do will be to make a twist. Okay, make a twist over where the wound is, then you wrap around. This will add point pressure to where the bleeding is. You can do another one, okay, to try to stop the bleeding. So when you want to end off, let's say you have reached to the end of the bandage. So what you will do will be you either use a tape, or if let's say it is elastic, right, I can use the previous revolution to just tuck it in as such. Okay. Make sure it's not too tight. Make sure there's still blood flow beyond or distal from where the bandage is. Okay, there's one pulse where you can check here or over here. This is what you call the, this is the posterior tibial, this is the pedal pulse. Okay, the pulse is still there. Alright, so yeah, then I would assess to make sure that the bleeding stops. Now, if the bleeding doesn't stop, what I will do will be to apply a second bandage over it. I do not remove the first bandage because there should be some clotting already happening underneath the first bandage, and if I remove the first bandage to apply a second bandage, that will remove the clot and bleeding will continue again. So what I will do is without removing the first bandage, if the bleeding has not stopped, I will apply the second bandage over. And of course, if the bleeding doesn't stop after even the second bandage that you have applied tightly over the first bandage, then that would tell you that it warrants a tourniquet, which we will cover in future videos. Alright, thank you.